so let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Carmen, the creator of MakeRealSense.com, a personal finance blog dedicated to teaching you all about the do's and don'ts of personal finance with a little humor on the side. And today we are going to be discussing a cash envelope system on a zero-based budget. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright, so before we hop into the cash envelopes, you really need to understand what a zero-based budget system is. Essentially, a zero-based budget is you taking every single dollar of your take-home pay before it hits your account and allocating it to a budget category. Once it's all allocated, you want to make sure you hit zero. So essentially, you've spent your entire paycheck before it's come into your account on your budget. Okay, so wait. Maybe some of you might be wondering what exactly I mean. Okay, so let's use an example. So for a zero-based budget, let's say you have $2,000 to take home for the entire month. Every 2 weeks, you get paid $1,000. So what you want to do with that $1,000 before it hits your account is create a budget for it and basically tell your money where to go. By telling your money where to go, you're being proactive about it rather than reactive and wondering where it went. So how do you really navigate that $1,000? Well, I mean, it's up to you, but to give you an example, what you can do before it hits your account is sit down, look at the categories or your expenses for the month, and figure out where that money needs to go. If I get paid Friday, I want to have my budget all together written out before that $1,000 hits my account. So maybe I have rent due, or maybe I need to get some groceries, pay electric, my cell phone bill. What I would do is take that $1,000 and then assign money to rent. Let's say $400 for rent. We'll do $200 for groceries and then $200 for our car. That leaves us with $200 left. What do? Well, we need to put it to a budget category, whether that be savings or spending. It needs to go somewhere until you hit zero. So let's say, for instance, we'll put $100 to car insurance and then we'll do another $100 towards entertainment for the month or entertainment for the next 2 weeks. So that's how I would spend the $1,000 prior to it coming into my account. But again, what's important here is you take your $1,000, dwindle that down, spend it on every single category until you hit zero, my friends. All right, so the cash system, that's what you're really here for. Let's go. All right, so essentially first you want to make sure you have your budget in place, whether that be zero-based budget or however you budget. You just want to make sure you have a written budget down so you can actually operate the cash system. So once you have your written budget in place, zero-based, whatever works for you, this is where the cash comes into play. So step number one is you want to figure out what categories in your budget you actually need to pull out cash for. And I say that because you don't need to pull out cash for everything unless you are really intense about it. So what do I mean by not pulling cash out for everything? All right, I'll give you an example. So my rent, it's something that I like to keep in the bank. And if you budget correctly, you won't have to use your debit card. And when you pull out the cash, it'll stay in there and get drafted on auto pay. So essentially your account should also go down to zero as well. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't leave a little buffer in your account, which I personally do. Usually between $20 to $30 to cover any unexpected expenses or any fees that may come out of my account that I'm not aware of. But really the first step is you need to figure out what budget categories you need to pull out cash for. Again, my example, I don't pull out cash for rent or any big ticket items that I don't want to carry a lot of cash for. That number is really up to you, and it's something that you need to feel safe with having in your home or your apartment, wherever you dwell, wherever you're at. You want to make sure that wherever you are taking cash out, the amount of money you feel safe and appropriate with. All right, with all that said, step number one is figure out what categories you need to pull out money for. So that could be things like food, gas, entertainment, groceries. I already said food. Okay, but you get what I'm saying. So you need to go down your budget and mark off each category that you'll actually need to pull out cash for. All right, so step number two, once you get all the categories figured out and what you actually need to pull out cash for, what I like to do is a cash breakdown. So essentially, I have all the categories that I'm pulling cash out for. So for example, I have breakfast, dinner, gas, utilities, and so on my cash breakdown. So I like to figure out, once I get all the categories that I'm actually going to be pulling money out for, I put it on a separate sheet in Excel or whatever you're using. and I like to have that to the side. And then what I like to do, go the extra mile and pull out the exact denominations that work best for me. Now, I've learned in a cash-based system that if you just go to an ATM and pull out nothing but 20s, it's kind of hard to make change or be exact with your money. So it's better to actually dwindle down and spend that extra time to figure out what denominations you'll actually need. All right, so after I figure out my budget categories and what I actually need to pull out cash for, I write them all out to the side, figure out the denominations, and then how much I'll need of each denomination, which is this little missing piece over here that I'll show you guys. So I created an Excel-based budget program that works for me based on a zero-based budget, and within that, it has a calculator for the denomination breakdown. So it's easy for me to use, but definitely something you can do on Excel, on a piece of paper, whatever works for you. So step number 3 is you need to go to the bank and essentially pull out the cash. I have Excel sheets that are set up for this reason, to be able to do a cash breakdown for me. And essentially, all I have to do is hand this to the teller. It's a sheet of the denominations and how many I'll need of each to be exact with my money. Interested, I have what I created called the Debt Attack Pack. Link is in the bio. It's an Excel-based budgeting system that works for me, could work for you. Step number 3, the most important, is going to the bank and actually getting out the cash. So 1, it's setting up your zero-based budget. 2, figuring out the categories that you actually need to pull out money for. And then 3, going and getting that money. Alright, so you're back from the bank and you've pulled out all the cash that you need and the specific denominations that you need for each category. What I like to do is smell the money first. No, I'm kidding. I just pulled this out. I haven't even done my cash budget yet, but you guys are gonna watch me do it. Alright, step number 4 is actually stuffing your envelopes, whether that be a folder file or actual envelopes, whatever works for you, or putting it in a little safe with different buckets of money for money. It is up to you, but after you get your cash, you want to go ahead and allocate it and put it into the correct category. I take my cash and I look at what I wrote out for each category and each denomination. So for an example, for breakfast and dinner, I spend $2.20 every 2 weeks. That means I'll get 21s, I will get 10 5s, 14 10s, and 3 20s. So what I do with that is I take this sheet, match it up with the denominations that I need, and then start allocating it out. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I take the money for each category that it's supposed to go into, and I put it into my file folder, which has all of my budgeting categories in it. So you want to take your money, right? So let's say we have 3 20s we needed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 10s, whatever your cash thing is. And then what you're going to want to do is just put it in a category, right? So what I'll do is I'll take this money, and if it's for breakfast, I like to have my categories split out between breakfast and dinner. I'll just slide it into breakfast or dinner, wherever it's supposed to go. Now this is an example of the cash breakdown and what I was talking about. So really you want to have the specific denominations listed out. I don't know if you guys can see that. All right, and then all the categories right over here. So step number 5 is you'll want to manage the money that you have in your envelopes. For example, I get paid every 2 weeks, so I have to pull out 2 weeks worth of money every 2 weeks. And what that means to me is if I have $100 allocated for a 2-week period, essentially that's split into $50 each week. I don't want to go into my cash envelopes and blow $100 in 1 week, because then I won't have food for another week. And that's not good. I get angry. Alright, so to give you guys a quick recap of the cash envelope system on a zero-based budget. 1, you're going to want to set up your budget and make sure you have it in place, whether it be zero-based, which I prefer, or some type of budget. Just make sure you get a budget. It's so important. Step number 2 is you actually want to figure out the categories that you want to pull out cash for. So big ticket items, to me personally, should stay in the bank, but hey, it's up to you if you pay your rent or mortgage with cash. But again, it's all about what you feel comfortable carrying and what you have or feel comfortable having on your person, like this. Step number 3 is you actually want to go to the bank, get the cash out in the specific denominations that you're looking to get out. So again, that avoids going to the ATM, getting out all 20s, and then getting home and having to dip into other envelopes to make change once category changes. Number 4, you want to stuff your envelopes, make them nice and neat. Put that cash that you figured out that you'll need into the very specific categories that you figured you'll need cash for. Then step number 5 is you really want to manage your money. So if you get paid on a weekly basis, that's a little bit easier to manage rather than just getting paid bi-monthly or every month, which I don't know if you get paid every month, but that would be super tough. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it made a ton of sense. If it didn't make any sense, drop me a comment, but if it did make sense and you really liked it, make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, do something, go and visit my page. Again, I created an Excel-based budgeting system that you can use too. It's called the Debt Attack Pack. It's available on my website, www.microsense.com. It's an Excel-based budgeting program based on a zero-based budget that also allows and does calculations for cash budget. So I hope you learned a lot from this video and enjoyed it. And essentially now you should know how to do the cash envelopes on a zero-based budget.